Welcome back to Get a Grip on Lighting. Today's show, we got the great and powerful Tony Lawrence is back. And Greg, you know what? Listen, I did a quick math. I know I shouldn't be doing math very often, okay? But I did this
Don't
today. I
do
did some
that.
math. And Tony's been on episode 192, 293, 334, and 407. So if you take all time, he averages every 100 episodes we have him on. But if you
Okay.
consider the fact that he didn't come on till 192, it's actually, we need an update from Tony every 50, 60 episodes. He could be one
There
of
you
the
go.
most popular guests in Get a Grip on Lighting history. We don't know. We're going to find out how this one does. On today's show, like we said, we have Tony Lawrence, an entrepreneur, technologist, and prophet of quantum possibilities through his role as CEO of Lightrider. Tony is a service disabled veteran of the U.S. Army who began his career recruited into the intelligence field by the National Security Agency. Serving in multiple high profile roles, Tony gained invaluable experience in counterterrorism and threat analysis, as well as tracking high value targets and tactical intelligence collection. His target geolocation efforts produced intelligence reports directly leading to the capture or elimination of terrorists worldwide. Tony went on to develop unique cyber intelligence collection techniques, many of which are still used by the nation's cyber mission forces today. Having been selected to represent the director of the National Security Agency, Tony delivered briefings to senior U.S. military officers, the White House, and congressional members of staff. It goes on and on here, man. This guy's got a heck of a bio, Greg. You know what I mean? With
Yeah.
years of
Yep.
R&D and investment in quantum technologies and applications, Tony created LightRider, a quantum communications company focused on the nexus of quantum-based encryption and communications using light fidelity technology, LiFi, and quantum encryption. Lightrider's mission is to provide unhackable communication products with product lines covering encrypted storage, secure communications network, and infrastructure. Lightrider has already captured the attention of emerging security and communications outlets across the healthcare, military, education, and government contracting verticals. Greg, before we go there, you got to stop being a loser and go to griplocksystems.com. Get a grip on Griplock Systems.
Hey,
And
that's where I go all the time. I might be a still shot right now, but I'm gonna log back in after I do this. the I like that shot though. That's a pretty good shot. The grip lock systems, labor saving install, tool free adjustability. Their grip lock cable gripper is actually self adjustable. You don't need anything, any tools. Way better than chain. And safety and quality control. They test every single shipment they send out, and I can tell you from experience, and somebody who's sold tens of thousands of these, they do. Best product out there for hanging any light fixture.
Jack Chain is for losers. So go to griplocksystems.com. And of course, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, that's NAILD.org. We got a convention coming up. All the cool cats of lighting are going to be there, all the top G's. That's right, September 22nd to 24th in beautiful St. Paul, Minnesota. Be there or be square. Tony Lawrence, welcome back again to Get a Grip on Lighting. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's always great to see you too. I always have a good time on this podcast.
You put out a post on LinkedIn, I don't know, a month ago, and I was trying to read it. But the first thing you got to do is you got to tell me what's the difference between quantum and AI. I thought that was like the same thing. Isn't quantum AI and isn't AI quantum, or are they unique?
Yeah, they're unique. They're completely different, actually. Think of AI as application based, and think of quantum as a source, right? So from quantum, you get something called quantum random numbers. These numbers that they never repeat, they're unpredictable, and they come from somewhere else. Scientists don't know where these quantum random numbers come from.
Hmm.
And these quantum random numbers can make our AI even better. So, and that's why companies like NVIDIA are investing heavily and looking very deeply into quantum computing, is because they need a source of information. Here's another example. AI can come up with different things, but none of it's unique, right? It will come up, if you type the same thing into AI over and over again, eventually you'll get the same result. But if you're using a quantum source along with AI, every single time you type something in, it will be unique. You'll never get the same thing over and over again.
And is that mathematically sound or is that a mystery?
It, it's, it's interesting, and this is why quantum is so unique. It is mathematically sound, but we don't know why it happens. We don't know where quantum random numbers come from. We don't know where entropy comes from. We don't know where randomness comes from, but it exists. And quantum random numbers and entropy are the only application or the only quantum technology that works today right now. And we could use it, right? But everything else in the quantum world, it's going to take 10, 15, 20 years before it becomes a realization.
You talk about entropy a lot, so let's get that laid down. So we understand quantum, we understand AI, we understand entropy. What do you mean entropy exactly? Tell me what that means in this context.
Well, entropy is a law, specifically the second law of thermodynamics. Anything that starts will continue into disorder. It's similar, it's also called the arrow of time. So as something continues, or as the longer something lives, the more disorder becomes. For example, the Big Bang. The Big Bang was caused by a singularity. But as the explosion grew, it became disordered and completely random. And beings like us came about, animals came about, planets came about, different solar systems, etc., came about from this disorder. So entropy is how quantum creates, and of course, AI can use quantum to create as well.
Now, in the LinkedIn post, you said by using specialized blinking light technology. Okay.
Yes.
Tell me what you mean by specialized, like describe it to a lighting audience so you don't have to go basic. We understand light, but tell us what we need to know about specialized blinking light technology with reference to quantum entropy and
Oh, great
randomness
question.
and AI.
Yeah, so I'm an Army veteran, deployed. When I first started in the Army, I was a Morse code operator. And thinking of Morse code is the best way to think about light fidelity technology. When we blink the lights, we're sending ones and zeros. So the light off is a zero, the light on is a one. And what we do is we blink the lights faster than the human eye can see, and we send a message very similar to Morse code. Now, what we've done here at LightRider is we've integrated a quantum random number generator chip into the light, right? And as the chip produces these numbers that come from an unknown source, numbers that could possibly be coming from another dimension, the chip passes those numbers through the light and blinks them into our reality. That's kind of the best way to think about it.
Only Tony Lawrence can drop maybe another dimension
Another
into
maybe.
into the sentence and just keeps going. Doesn't stop. Doesn't stop. So let me ask you this. So this interdimensionality, you hear about it a lot. Like I'm not a science guy, okay? I'm a light bulb salesman.
Yeah.
So I hear about it, let's say on Joe Rogan, for example. I might listen to a Joe Rogan where they'll bring up, other dimensions and this idea that there's multiple realities or multiple versions of reality out there. When you're saying other maybe another dimension, what is it actually that you mean by that? Is the light in that dimension? Is the number coming through the light into that dimension? If you can describe it, try to do that.
One of the fundamental elements of quantum mechanics is entanglement. Right? So entanglement is where two distant objects, usually light, they're intertwined. So if something happens to this one, the same thing happens to this one. So all the light that we see anywhere in the universe is entangled. And what scientists believe, and has been done, the most recent experiment was the Willow experiment done by Google, I think it was, yes, Google. Um, all the light is connected. So that's why these anomalies are happening. That's why these random, and these lights are in other dimensions as well. So the same light that's here is most likely the same light that's in other dimensions.
So the light. Hang on, Greg. I know you were going to jump in there, but so you're saying that this light itself has an dimensionality to it. If there are other interdimensions, then light will travel from our dimension into that dimension.
Basically, correct. Yes. So it's just one blanket sheet of light, and that blanket sheet of light passes or is connected to, hundreds of millions, or if not hundreds of billions of different dimensions. And what scientists believe is every choice that we make, and I don't want to get spiritual on you, but one of the greatest gifts from God is choice. We hear that a lot in movies. We see it in different texts. So every time we make a choice, whether to go to work or stay home, whether to eat or not eat, each choice possibly spawns off an entirely different reality. That's why there are so many realities. But the only commonality between these realities is light itself.
Is that idea that when you observe something, it changes? Is that what that comes from? Something that
Yes, it's
observes when we look at something, it changes. So everything is always different every time. Something like that. Anyway, Greg.
yes, not locality. Well, so when we first started, when I first started in quantum computing, that was a big thing. There's a technology called quantum key distribution, which will be big in lighting very soon. Lighting and QKD, LiFi and QKD, they work together for the quantum internet, right? So um, with QKD, for example, if I'm sending a message to you guys and a bad guy tries to look at the message, they won't be able to see it, and it will let us know, like, hey, somebody's looking at the message. So light has a lot of different. Now, the light itself has to be cooled. So light just doesn't do this. Quantum physicists and quantum developers, we're using these massive cooling systems, these massive dissolution refrigerators, and we're cooling light colder than outer space. And because of that, that's what activates the entanglement. That's what activates superpositioning. So light just doesn't do these things by itself. It does these. It has superpowers underneath different conditions.
Hmm.
So what I know we've covered this in past shows, but as a reminder, what year did you start Light Rider?
I started Light Rider in 2019.
2019, and now we're at 2026. What exactly of
Yes.
your product has changed in that 6 years? And has there been anything since last time we talked that has changed?
Oh
As you
man,
remember?
yes. There's
Yeah.
been a lot of changes. Our technology continues to grow and advance. Again, I came from the National Security Agency. My technology differs than commercial and public technologies. I just continued after I left the agency. Everything I was working on there, I just continued. So we're a little further ahead. We've turned the lights. Here's probably the coolest thing, you guys. We've turned the lights into Bitcoin miners, so you can mine Bitcoin from the lights. So that's probably one of the biggest advances that
How does
we've
that
made.
work?
So,
Tell me what something as easily as you can.
well, he's trying to make money. He's like, hey, this is a good opportunity.
Let's go.
Well, well, yeah, it's interesting. No one knows the origin of Bitcoin, right? It just kind of popped up. No one knows the creator of Bitcoin. No one knows really who the guy is. But when looking at the Bitcoin white paper and looking at Bitcoin itself, it looks like something out of the intelligence community. It looks like something out of, a spy movie. And it just kind of took off. But the fundamental nature of Bitcoin itself is cryptology, right? So it's crypto. And that's why we call it crypto. And crypto came from the National Security Agency. It came from the government. Everything we know about crypto came from the government, essentially. So we've been utilizing government tools and government capabilities to really make Bitcoin mining more efficient, right? You don't need hundreds and thousands of ASICs miners, and you don't need all these mining pools. Right now, your traditional Bitcoin miners are brute forcing the Bitcoin blockchain, right? They're using massive computing powers, hundreds of thousands of computers to guess a number called a nonce. And as we know, just using standard traditional numbers, you're going to get repeats over and over again. What Light Rider is doing is we're using our lights to create different numbers, different nonces that can be put into the Bitcoin blockchain. So anybody at home, wherever they may be, can mine a Bitcoin.
And when you mine a Bitcoin, what exactly? I know this isn't lighting related, but now you got me going a little. What do you mean mining a Bitcoin? Like
Oh,
Greg's
you
looking
mine a
Bitcoin?
for
Bitcoin.
Greg's looking for a quick buck again, right? Look at this
Okay,
guy.
get us back here.
When you mine a Bitcoin, you right now I think Bitcoin's at what, $109,000. Once you mine a Bitcoin, you get $109,000 in your Bitcoin wallet.
But it
So
might
your
cost you
your light
fifty
can.
thousand in energy or $100,000 in energy to get
Okay.
it.
Not anymore. All you need is a light bulb.
So we
Yeah,
need
Uh
one of
all
your
you need is a light
products, and
bulb.
then we can mine one Bitcoin, or as many
That's
Bitcoins as
correct.
we can find. Have you
Correct.
found a
Correct.
Bitcoin on your product, or mined a
Maybe,
Bitcoin?
maybe. Can't really
Okay.
say. When I first started Light Router, you guys, I was, looking for, I had a few $1 million, my company, Board Technology, and I hired tons and tons of software developers to create the lights and to create the quantum devices. And over time, I just kept learning from these guys, right? I learned from them. They'll work a project, I'll let them go. So over time, I've just amassed a great deal of just knowledge, and I've been using that knowledge along with AI to build amazing things. And now I really don't need investors anymore. I really don't need anything. I just kind of do everything myself. But the mining stuff is really really cool. You don't need these hackers. Hackers when Bitcoin first came out, hackers were who the rich guys went to, and they say, hey, hacker, hey, check out this Bitcoin stuff. Let's figure out the most efficient way to mine. And of course, hackers are going to say, let's brute force it. Let's brute force it. Let's use massive computing power. But, being from the intelligence community, I know that it makes sense just to take my time and to really look at it, be precise about my analysis. Don't try to bang the door down. Find the key and unlock the door, and it's much easier. So that's what we're doing here at Lightrider.
It's interesting that you've made some points. I've been taking notes just on the last kind of conversation that we've been having. The first thing is this idea of light as information, and I
Yeah,
think it was I'm gonna forget her name now. I'll remember later on in the show. But she was one of the scientists we interviewed, and she was in studio, and you were a remote, Greg. I can't remember what her name is. She's Canadian, but she said the best description of light is as information.
yes,
And
yes.
the idea on top of that, that Bitcoin was a CIA project and
Mm,
or an intelligence agent. Maybe it's the defense intelligence agent. There's a bunch of these. There's 13 or 14 different intelligence agencies in the United States that
yes,
operate. And this
yes.
idea that Bitcoin's from the other one is the idea that the internet was released on purpose to
Mm,
collect data on people. So this
mm,
idea that the internet just came out of nowhere, and now in 2008, 10, people are worried about internet security and being spied on, but when in reality the internet was created to spy on people from the beginning, its inception, that was its purpose. And
mm.
so all of these kinds of ideas, it seems like we're coming to another singularity, Tony. And light is at the center of that singularity. How we use light, what light is, how it travels, what kind of information it gives us. Is that a fair assessment that all of this is light?
Yes, everything is light, and when you look to protect yourself in this sort of environment, light is also a way to protect yourself.
Hmm.
Our lights work great. They send out these quantum random numbers. You can make passwords. You can use those random numbers as a firewall to keep the government and other nefarious individuals out of your communications, right? Out of your local communications, out of your business communications. You know, light can be used in an offensive manner. It can be used to exploit, and it could be used to defend yourself.
And how is this fitted into general everyday lighting? Has it made itself way into the 2x4 troffer yet, Tony?
I would say, I would say is we're very close. We're very close. Now, recently, artificial intelligence companies such as OpenAI, um, Meta, a few other ones, they're getting in a lot of trouble, gentlemen, because they've been stealing data from users to train their artificial intelligence systems. And because of that, people are coming back and suing. I believe Disney just filed a huge class action lawsuit against Midjourney. I believe it's Midjourney. It's because these artificial intelligence companies are just sucking in data from the internet, stealing data from different places, and then they're profiting off of it. So with the lights, with the technology that we just talked about, here at Lightrider, we're creating our own data. It's fake data, right? We're creating fake names, fake email addresses, fake social security numbers, fake bank account numbers. Using the lights, we can create these fake numbers using quantum random numbers. So in our AI platforms of the future, you won't have these legal issues or these privacy issues because all the data that they're being trained on is synthetic, right? This is synthetic data is what the lights create.
I think the right word to call it, Greg, is plagiarized GPT. Not because
Yes.
it's just machine learning all the things that have ever been written and then reproducing it for you, Greg, in the way you want. But over to you, Greg.
Yeah, so just looking at your product, so you have this quantum terminal, and that's what actually goes in the light itself, or can go in a light, or break it down
Yeah.
real easy for me.
Cool. Yeah. Great question. So when we first started, we started with the quantum terminal, right? It's a quantum chip. It's a few computing devices. We use different devices to make it do different things, but basically a small computer connected to a quantum chip, that's a quantum terminal. We used our LiFi R&D back, this is 4 or 5 years ago. We used our light bulbs and we connected them to the quantum terminal so that the data from the quantum terminal will flow through the light. And that's how we created our first light. Now, recently, we've detached the Li-Fi from the quantum terminal, and we have the quantum terminal that works with your Wi-Fi and works with your cell phone. So if you need a quick password or if you need synthetic data, if you want to run a really cool simulation, you don't have to necessarily be underneath the light. If you're doing something very heavy in AI, let's say you're creating your own large language model and you need some real heavy synthetic data, the lights are the best source. If you're mining Bitcoin, I recommend the lights for mining Bitcoin. It just kind of depends on what you're doing. So those are our two primary hardware products.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so who's actually buying the products right now? What type of
I mean,
customer? What type of
I,
person?
I don't sell them to anybody. I hold on. I hold on. I have
You're just
I
making
have a
stuff.
lab. Yeah, I have a lab full of this stuff, and I'm working on it. And I have a few people that come in and out. I'm really not big on selling it to anybody right now. Once quantum becomes more popular, eventually, gentlemen, quantum will be even more popular than AI. AI. There are hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of AI companies today, right? But most of those companies, their foundation is ChatGPT. We all know it, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
AI company here. You're not really an AI company. You just have a wrapper on top of ChatGPT. But ours is a little different. All of our lights right now, gentlemen, are connected to quantum computers. That's another really cool part. Rigetti's quantum computers. We've connected our lights to quantum computers. I think we talked about this in the last um, podcast. And really cool things are coming off the light. I don't know where the price of the lights at. I don't want to sell the lights for $5,000 or $50,000, but they're essentially worth a lot. Everything that we have is worth a lot because of those quantum random numbers and our abilities to actually apply quantum technologies. Most people can't do that. So, my team and I, my board and I, we're still trying to figure out the right price point for the market. We're still working with Orion Lighting. They're great. They have a ton of our quantum lights in their research facilities down in Florida. We're working together. We're running user groups. I don't know if I talked about this last time, you guys, but the lighting technology, people are kind of afraid of it. We've noticed that some people, as they go to use it, they're just freaked out, right? They're freaked out, like, oh, information's coming out of light, and they put their hand under it, and the information stops flowing, and they let light shine, and then the information starts flowing again, So there's like a cultural shift that needs to happen, and of course we might do a marketing push or something to make that happen, but we still have a lot of work to do. So we're ready to sell, but we will be selling ourselves short if we did.
Hmm. And so you're in the research development, product development phase of this. I'm going to
Yes.
change gears a little bit on this one. Um, when you're looking at the usefulness of this, you say people are a little bit freaked out because it makes me feel like I'm going to be in the Matrix movie at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
and this may sound like a crazy question, but can your lights connect to sunlight or to moonlight? Is there a way to move that Li-Fi signal into general lighting? Other lights that are not Li-Fi, can it read that light signature, stuff like that?
Eventually, and I model our lighting technology off of nature, right? Off of light that comes from the sun. The plants that are surrounding us, they're programmed by sunlight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is programmed by sunlight. If you look at the old Indiana Jones movie, and he's in a temple and he holds up a special rod and light shines through it, and a magical door opens up. Um, Natural lighting is applied to everything. And yeah, we've actually done pretty cool research where we take solar panels connected to Li-Fi. So on the outside of the building, there's a solar panel, and on
Mm-hmm.
the inside of the building, there's a Li-Fi system, and it works perfectly well. Natural lighting and Li-Fi technology are very compatible.
Hmm. And can this be weaponized?
Um, uh, it's not really. It's for communications. So our Li-Fi technology is purely for communication purposes. Now it can be used to spy and things like that. You just put a light bulb in somebody's house and you can pretty much hear everything they're saying, see everything they're doing, etc. But as far as weaponizing, not really, not at this point in time.
How does the light see what they're doing?
Oh, it's lidar technology. Lidar
Okay.
technology is how we do it. Light bounces off of things. It bounces back to a sensor, and then we can see what's going on in the room.
Can it recognize human faces?
Yeah. It can recognize anything. It's probably the most efficient way to map out an area. I mean, I know Tesla is using similar lidar technologies that we use
Yeah.
in their automobiles. So yeah, it's actually pretty simple. You can buy a lot of this stuff from Amazon.
Okay, so the and then the sound. So the sound waves are detected by the light waves?
So when you break it down, sound is light. So it's really interesting. There's different sensors. Orion has pretty amazing sensors on their lights that do all different types of things. Like carbon monoxide sensors. There's many different sensors that you can integrate into the light to do different things. For sound, the lidar would pick up the sound because as sound moves, it's kind of like an object, and the light can bounce off of it and reflect back to the light, and you can kind of figure out what they're saying.
Hmm. When are we going to reach the singularity, Tony?
We're close. AI is funny. Once quantum and AI are merged, then you're going to see a lot of really cool stuff. Teleportation. You're going to see, time travel. You'll see if you type in quantum and time travel right now, you'll see tons of things in the news. So time travel is within our grasp. Teleportation. I'm looking forward to that. Human life
The
extension.
only
So
guy that says I'm
I
looking
love this
forward to
guy.
teleportation.
You're totally serious, right? This is really happening.
yeah,
Is that right?
I'm for real.
That's
For
awesome.
real. Yes, 100% serious, you guys.
I
Yeah,
love it.
quantum computing makes these things realities. Seriously. But we're still, before the quantum computers can actually compute, we're still about 5 to 10 years away. Right? That's why I said earlier. We still got a little time before the quantum computers become a mainstream. But right now, today, quantum lights and quantum random number generation work perfectly fine, you guys. They work perfectly fine. You could use them to do amazing things right now, today. So that's one. You don't have to wait on quantum. You just have to do the right type of quantum.
Have you ever interacted with someone in something in another dimension?
While I'm asleep.
Ah,
No.
okay, okay. I don't know, man. I read this thing that CERN, the CERN, that I don't know what they call those things, a particle accelerator. Is that what it is in CERN?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
they were communicating with something on the other side, and they were
yeah.
receiving messages from another dimension. I don't know if that's. I loved Unsolved Mysteries as a kid, so you know that show Unsolved Mysteries with the guy with
Mhm.
the gray hair. I loved that. It was my favorite show.
I love
So I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory interest kind of thing in this. But yeah,
it.
I think the next 5 to 10 years is going to be super interesting. Tony, thank you again for being a guest on Get a Grip on Lighting. And I think that might be the most popular guest on Get a Grip on Lighting ever is Tony
I
Lawrence.
would
But
say
Greg,
so.
you're not a loser. You don't use jack chain to hang light fixtures, do you?
No,
Never.
not at all.
Grip
Never,
lock. You got
never,
to use it.
never.
You
Got to
got to
use
go
the
to
right
Just
stuff. Tool list.
griplocksystems.com, man. Don't be a loser and use jack chain. Get it right with the Grip Lock Systems, Greg.
Always best product out there. I use it personally myself. Hundreds, tens of thousands, not hundreds, maybe hundreds. I should count them up sometime, but a lot of them. A lot easier in chain. You can adjust them up and down. Best system out there.
Griplocksystems.com, of course. St. Paul, September 22nd to 24th, Nailed Convention. Check it out. It's at nailed.org. If you have light bulbs in a warehouse, this is where you go. Whether they speak to people in other dimensions or not, that's another story. But if you have those two, bring them over. And of course, Tony Lawrence, love having you, buddy. Thanks for coming on the show.